so for me personally, whenever people want to gossip, I ask myself those questions like,
well, hello you guys. Welcome back to our channel.
welcome back to the channel. It's good to see you. If you're new here, Tori and I talk about some uncomfortable things.
All the time.
Our goal is to always be who we wish we had. And so
Yeah.
some of these conversations that we have here on YouTube, our goal is to make sure we're equipping, empowering, and also sometimes entertaining people in ways that we wish we were whenever we were whatever age you are.
They're like
45.
way older than us.
Yeah.
Today, we are talking about how to handle toxic people.
Yeah.
Whether that's like family, friends, significant other, or maybe you're the toxic one. I don't
Yeah,
know.
absolutely. And I think that there's like two really big takeaways from this. The first thing is we want you to know that this is not a time for us to become toxic people and make fun of
Yes.
people for their
No.
bad habits or the way you treat you. This is
No.
not like let's gossip about other people. One takeaway you should have in this video is how to be more empathetic and more
Yeah.
graceful for people who have toxic habits or impacts in your life. And just as important takeaway would be how you can create better boundaries to protect your mental health, your emotional stability, and your spiritual walk. That
Yeah.
sounded good. All those things as you walk, because you do need to protect
Yeah.
them while you're being respectful and loving to other people. Let's just jump in. Before we jump in, one last thing.
Let's just jump on in.
Let's just
kidding.
Let's do a quick subscriber of the week.
Okay.
Jonathan!
Jonathan!
We got to meet you in person. It was so great to hang out with you before you went off on that road trip.
Yeah.
You add so much to our community from just praying over people, being a part of the men's group over on Patreon, and everything
Yeah.
you do. We really are blessed by you. So thanks for being a part of the Masters fam.
You're the best. So we did a little,
Yeah.
question situation over on Instagram. Honestly, I had no idea how many people would actually respond to this topic, and
It was a lot. Like it just keeps going. And those are all questions about this topic. And so make sure you comment below if you want us to do more on this topic, because
Yeah.
we're obviously can't talk about everything under the sun that's in her DMs right now. We want to make content that you all want. So comment below if you're interested in this, and then we will do more of it.
okay, the first one, I feel like this is good to just kind of like open up the conversation.
Let's just like dim the lights and set the mood for this video. Wait, that got weird real quick. All right.
How do you define toxic? Can people be difficult but not toxic?
Yes.
100%.
I am difficult, but not toxic. Oh, yes, absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
I think it's tough to define toxic because that's a word that's just being thrown around for everything nowadays. It's such a buzzword, and that's hence the title of this video. And so I definitely want to second what you're saying. Yes, someone can just be difficult. Someone could have had a really traumatic upbringing which caused them to live a certain way because that's all they knew. And it's like, okay, well, is that person toxic, or are they just difficult? Do they have some like sharp edges, so when you bump into them it hurts a little bit, but that doesn't mean that they're a bad person?
Yeah. When I think of toxic, I think of poison.
Yeah.
And so when I think of like a toxic relationship, a toxic friendship, or a toxic like boyfriend girlfriend situation, is this friendship or relationship literally poison to my soul?
Yeah.
Like, is this like impacting me in a way that's affecting my spirituality, making me make bad decisions? I had pulled up this verse a little bit earlier, and I just thought it was really good. It's Proverbs 13:20. It says, "Whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm." And then there was another verse in 1 Corinthians 15:33 that says, "Don't be fooled by those who say such things, for bad company corrupts good character."
Yeah.
And so I think it's really important who we surround ourselves with. And I know that if we're talking about toxic family, that's a little bit more of like a touchy subject, but we get to choose who our friends are. And so it's making sure that we're surrounding ourselves with people who are good for our souls, that are leading us towards Christ, who are doing life with us and encouraging us, versus bad company who's like corrupting our soul and, leading us astray.
Something that helps me, like I always use this analogy that whenever I lived in New York City, that was a really hard city for me. The city just like beat me up. I'm not gonna lie, it beat me up and spit me out. And I realized that city was impacting me more than I was impacting it, and in a worse way, and not a good way.
Yeah.
And so I decided to leave because of that. But whenever I lived in LA, it was also a tough city to live in. Yeah. But honestly, like, New York was way tougher. And I could handle living in LA and some of the hardships that come along with it. And so I was impacting LA more than it was impacting me. Yeah. And so I felt comfortable. And so New York to me was toxic, even though I love New York. Like, I love New York City. But it was just like, we broke up, hostile relationship, unhealthy, but, you know, it's still, you know, every once in a while I'm like, you know that meme? Like, New York, and you're just like, you know, so.
That is not a good analogy.
It's not?
No, it feels like if you like had that toxic thing, it's like Lot's wife in the Bible who looked back and she turned into dust.
No, salt,
Salt.
No, you're absolutely right. It's a tough thing, but I had to make the decision for my own like walk where I had to decide, oh, this is changing me more than I'm changing it. Yeah. And so because of that, I need to part ways. And that's how I knew it was toxic, is because even like one drop of toxicity inside of a glass of water will make the entire thing toxic. And so it's important for you to know, like, is this thing changing everything about me? Is that one drop that's broken through to my heart, is that changing everything about me? Or am I changing my surroundings? Am I bettering my surroundings?
I heard it once said, like, forever ago, I'm probably going to butcher it.
Forever? How long ago was that?
Someone was telling me how if you think about a person standing up on a really tall chair, if they're trying to pull up like 5 different people at once, they're probably just going to like fall over. Like that's going to be really hard. Or those people that are like pulling to try to get up are going to pull that person down. Or if it's the opposite, if it's a ton of like really strong people trying to pull up one person at a time, that's actually helpful. And for me, in a certain season of my life, I was surrounded by a lot of people making decisions that were not honoring to God. And then I started making those decisions as well. And then fast forward years later, I'm surrounded by people who are like pursuing the righteous decisions, pursuing to glorify God. And it encouraged me to continue doing that as well, and encouraged me to do that. So
look at you bringing out some analogies.
Thanks.
Next one.
Okay. What's the line between reconciliation and then getting back into that toxic relationship? Pretty much like, I can forgive them, but does that mean I still need to be in relationship with them?
Yeah. This is a tough one because we love reconciliation, right? Yeah. We love that. And I'm not sure if this person's talking about a family, a friendship, or a relationship. It kind of sounds like a relationship. Like, reconciling with family is so special, and reconciling with friends is so special. And even your significant other, and like being able to work through differences and work through like things that aren't super attractive about each other, and you can work through that. I do think there are some red flags of ones that you should not work through, but that's really up to you all. I don't think we really set that. I think if this person has a habit of cheating on you, then that's not something that you can absolutely like forgive them and move on. But I don't know if that's something that you want to be putting yourself in that situation consistently, because a person will tell you how they feel about you by how they treat you. You can really tell a lot by what someone thinks of you if you watch how they talk to you, watch how they treat you. You know, are they just with you because of the convenience of what you offer them? Or are they with you because they really want to serve and love you?
I mean, I'll just be totally honest about a situation, because I don't think anyone watching would kind of like know what I was talking about. But just so y'all know that I've had like experience with like a legitimate kind of healthy friend breakup because it was toxic. I was really, really close with someone, and it got to a point where there was a lot of lies that were happening, a lot of manipulation that was happening, and the more I prayed about it, the more the Lord was revealing certain things about this person and why I should no longer be in like a close relationship with them. And I had to actually like ask my mentor to like sit down with the two of us at a coffee shop, almost like mediate a conversation so that I could explain why I would no longer be like answering phone calls or like hanging out. And it was very uncomfortable, and it was really sad, and it was hard for me and for her, but I knew that it wasn't healthy. And so I don't know what situation you're in, but also something for me that I feel like is a red flag, if like toxicity would be manipulation. If there's like a lot of lies and a lot of manipulation in that's not healthy. And so sometimes conversations do need to be had, but forgiveness is imperative to your spiritual walk. Because unforgiveness is poison. So if we're talking about toxic things, unforgiveness is toxic. It's toxic to your body, to your spirituality. And so when you walk into prayer, you are called to first forgive. It's not easy. Sometimes things are really hard to forgive, but guess what? Like, the Lord forgives us for everything.
So many people want to know what to do when their friends want to gossip, when their family wants to gossip. How do you get out of a situation where people are wanting to gossip? How to not feel like you want to gossip? Because I'm not going to lie, I feel tempted to gossip all the time. Like, let's not like be those people that are just pointing fingers and like, oh, they do that. Like, I feel it all the time internally, and I have to constantly like ask myself a few questions. Like, if Jesus were here with me, would I say this about the person that he loves? Would I say that in front of him? If that person were here, would I say that in front of that person? And there's a bunch of different questions. Does this speak life or death over somebody? And don't get me wrong, like, I think it's really easy to get frustrated with people and want to just vent. And so I do think that there is a healthy way to vent your emotions instead of just like stifling them and becoming a people pleaser where you never want to hurt people's feelings and all that. I mean, you are allowed to be honest about a situation, but you can do that in a loving way. And so for me personally, whenever people want to gossip, I ask myself those questions, like, would I say this in front of that person? Or how would Jesus feel about the way I'm talking about one of his children whom he loves? And then also, in a way to get out of that situation, this is one of those things where it's really difficult. We don't want to upset people. We don't want to offend people. We don't want to offend people to their face, right? For me personally, when it comes to gossip, and if you are in a room or you're around friends or family that are constantly wanting to talk about that, number one, try to shift the conversation to something a little bit more positive. Number two, maybe just excuse yourself, like, oh, my phone went off, just that way you're not like absorbing the negativity that's happening right now. Or if it consistently happens, I would try to pull aside one person at a time and just say, hey, I noticed that we were being a little hard on that person, and I know that person may have sharp edges, but I don't think it's helpful to talk about that person the way we're talking about them. I think it's only hurtful. And so, because I wouldn't want someone to talk about me like that. I wouldn't want it to know that you friends or you family are in a circle talking about me like that. Like, I want to treat people the way that I want to be treated. And so, but you pull someone aside and you express yourself in a way where you're not attacking them. You're not now like doing to them what they're doing to someone else, but you can just express yourself. I think that's a super healthy, like, 3-step plan. But it is awkward, and understand that eventually, like the sermon we just heard recently, you've got to draw a line in the sand. Like, there's a line here, and eventually you're going to have to stand up for something, and you can't just go along with everything.
And once again, gossip is toxic. It's just all too real in the church, truly. Like, there's, in the name of, oh, we need to pray for this person because this is what's going on. Like, there's nothing more frustrating to me when someone, like, spills the tea. They're spilling all the tea in someone else's personal life, and like the name of, oh, we need to pray for them because this is what they're going through, you know. And it's like, hey, that's none of our business to know unless like they've given you permission to share that. Taylor Madu posted this the other day, and I just thought it was really good. She says, it is very dangerous when the offended gather to talk about the one who offended them through the lens of their offense. This will always lead to greater dissension and deeper pain. Never entertain the negativity with ones who are too fragile to point you back to Jesus. God is bigger than the offense. Let him defend you. And I've always loved that picture of like God is my defense attorney. I've been in those rooms where I'm like, I'm gonna walk out and they're gonna start talking about me, and it's just never a good feeling. And you only know that because you've been in the room with them when they're talking about someone else. And so it's like just being aware of gossip culture and like taking yourself out if there's like a group of people who are like really negative or like know that. It's just not a true reflection of Christ. And
you also want to understand the danger of it, right? Where it seems so harmless, right? It seems so harmless, like, oh, I'm just talking, right? But words have power. Understand this. Tori and I put a poll on her Instagram to ask you guys about toxic relationships, right? Friendships, whatever. And the most frequently mentioned one was about gossip.
Yeah.
Clearly, this is something that people are being impacted by, right? This is a weird analogy, but imagine you're around a group of people and they want to start doing like hard drugs. Are you just going to be like, oh, I'm just going to go along with it because that's what they're doing?
Yeah.
But that's what we're doing with people who gossip around us.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think we're seeing the destruction it can cause.
Yeah.
On the other side, I think it's important to know that, like, how do you react when people gossip about you? How do you react when people start spreading rumors about you? I saw a bunch of mention there about that, and I guess I just want to encourage you to know that you can't control what people say about you.
Yeah.
You know, but you can control what you say about you and what you believe about you. Because you can't always impact what people say and believe about you, but you can change what you say and believe about yourself based on what God says about you. Yeah. And so there are things you can control and things you can't control. And I'm not just saying sweep it underneath the rug and just forget about it, but you can't live your life to make sure every single person thinks the best about you and believes the best about you. You're not going to win that game. Yeah. To even take that a step further, I saw a bunch of them about how do you handle people who have differing opinions. But
I was going to bring that one up too.
It's led to toxic relationships because people have different opinions.
Yeah, well, because we live in such a polarizing.
It's polarizing, so divisive.
Culture and very divisive.
So stressful.
And here's the thing, y'all. You're allowed to not think like other people. Like, it's okay to have different thoughts and still love that person.
Yes.
Like I am not a mirror image of whoever I'm talking to.
She's not a mirror image of me. We're married.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, this is the closest person I will ever have in my life is my husband. And we even think different thoughts or think different things about certain situations, you know? And so we are not like, what am I trying to say? We're not replicas. What am I trying to say? Like
clones.
Yes, we're not like all these clones walking around. And so we just have to remember that, like, we have to take things to the throne room of God and ask him, okay, Lord, how am I supposed to feel about this? And sometimes I've like taken things to God and he's like, honestly, you don't really need to have an opinion on that. Like, I have that one handled, you know? And like, it's okay to not have a stance on every single thing under the sun. Like, I'm not going to be an expert in like everything in the world and in culture and all of this stuff, but I can like love people and I'm called to love people like Christ loves them, you know? And I think about the way Christ loved us while yet we were still sinners, and we're called to love like he does. And so we can't love people for like only when they have their life all together.
Only the good stuff.
Yeah, only the good stuff. It's like, I have plenty of friends who think very differently than me, but it doesn't mean I love them any less, you know? But it doesn't mean it's not hard, too. Like, I hate confrontation.
It is really hard.
Yeah.
And I just want to second what Tori's saying about the earth does not revolve around you, and it does not revolve around me or Tori, right? And so in order to have like a unique thought or unique idea, you have to be able to think for yourself. And you need freedom to think and discuss ideas. And so I just want to encourage you that people will have differing ideas and opinions based on their upbringing, based on their culture, based on where, you know, the way their brain releases chemicals. Like, you're
based on what content they're consuming.
Yeah, and so people are going to be so different, and I think it's important to embrace people's differences, but that doesn't mean that you need to make them into your image or you need to be made into their image. You're allowed to be uniquely different in the way that God has made you all. Yeah. Because I saw a bunch of in there about people having issues with family, and like, my family doesn't support my walk with the Lord, or I'm having issues with like this part of my family, and it is so difficult because these are some of the people you're closest to, and you don't want to upset them, right? You don't want to have like a bad, you don't want them to have a bad perception of you. Yeah. You can't always control that. And like, I've dealt with it in my larger family relationship, and she has too, where ultimately something I do, this is like getting deep. This is like personal. I just, honestly, I try to do my best in the way I pursue God and love others, and I leave the rest to just whatever happens, happens. I can't control this person to feel the way I want them to feel about me. I can't control that. I can't make everyone happy all the time. I can't, right? Yeah. But I'm going to pursue the Lord. I'm going to act the way he wants me to act. I'm going to love people the way he wants me to love people. And I can't control the rest. I'm just going to let it go. Yeah. And it's difficult. It is genuinely difficult because I want to make everyone happy, but people in your life, especially like parents and like mothers-in-laws, fathers-in-laws, they may want you to act a certain way based off of what they think is right. And then this person wants you to act a certain way based on what they think is right. And then same thing for that person and that person. But what's right? I do my best to live based on what God tells me is right. And I hate to say it, but it's just like, that's the best I can do.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, it does. And I also just want to say, like, we are two people on the internet giving advice on, like, overarching conversations and topics. Yeah. Like, we don't know what you're personally walking through. We don't know the people you're walking through toxicity with. And so we always really recommend counseling too, like someone who can like ask you those questions and you can share the story of what you might be going through, and they can give you specific advice on like the actual situation, because we can give you overarching advice and say, hey, if you feel like your safety is at stake, if you feel like there's any type of abuse going on, like there is a line that like cannot be crossed, and then you need to set boundaries in place to make sure that that doesn't happen and that you're safe physically, spiritually, mentally. But we don't know exactly what you're going through, and we try to get to as many messages as we can, but we do always like say, hey, we aren't counselors, we're not therapists. We have resources that will be linked below if that's something that you need. We highly recommend BetterHelp, and we also have like other PDFs linked below, like if you're struggling with your mental health. But we always just like you guys to know, like we aren't the end all be all, like wise counsel. We are sharing from experience, and this is very peer to peer. And so we just hope to start these conversations, and you guys continue them with your loved ones, with your mentors, your pastors, your boyfriends, girlfriends, friends, whatever, or your counselors, because this is just to get the ball rolling. Because as you can see, back whenever I scroll through all the questions, some of them are really deep. Some of them have to do with like physical abuse, and of course, like Tori and I are just scratching the surface on how to handle toxic relationships or toxic people. And again, the main two goals is to make sure that we soften our hearts to know that this person didn't just wake up on one day and decide to create toxic habits that are now impacting my walk, right? That person doesn't just, like, the whole meme, like that person woke up and chose violence. Like, it's very rare that actually happened. There's a lot of factors that went into it, a lot of variables. And if we're only looking at this person through a lens of like, they're a finished product, right? And then why are they doing this to me? Why is this happening? But we're not looking at them with soft eyes and like an empathetic heart. That doesn't mean we just accept the way they're treating us. I'm not saying that. I'm saying we can create boundaries around ourselves to protect ourselves and still love someone at the same time. And that doesn't mean that we're always still in that person's life, but we're not walking away with bitterness, resentment, hate, disdain, everything for that person. And then of course the second takeaway would be, how do I protect myself? Because you're seeing it right now where, did I say this in a video? There was an article released from Instagram where Instagram now knows that it's unhealthy for young women. Platform's doing great, and it's just like, clearly other people aren't going to respect your own boundaries if you don't have them set up for yourself. And so I think that's a big takeaway, is to know that it is important. It's almost imperative. It is imperative for you to set up these boundaries. Whether it's with your own parents, your spouse's parents, your friends, your just community, or your church family, because people won't respect boundaries that you don't have in place. And then whenever, or that aren't communicated. And whenever you protect your own emotional stability, your physical safety, and your spiritual walk, you are now prepared to love those people better. You can now serve those people better. You can now point them in the better directions, because it's now not like that person's a mess, now I'm a mess. No, now I cleaned up my mess. Now I can help other people continue to clean up their mess. And it's the whole thing of like taking the stick out of your eye. The log out of your eye, so you can help someone with the twig in theirs. Anyways. I think that's it for the first bit of this video. We were like, let's just chat for like 10 minutes. You guys know we can't do that. So we hope this was encouraging, and if you do want us to talk more about this topic, seriously, like this video, comment below. Like, we're not going to continue the conversation if we don't feel like you guys want us to. And so if you want us to, make it abundantly clear, so we'll film a part 2 or something like that.
And
so.
if you think this video would be helpful for people that you know, feel free to share
Yeah.
it. We love resharing everything and seeing, because we kind of gauge whether we continue a certain topic based off of your interests. So the more interest you show, the more that we'll continue that topic.
Yeah. I think that's it.
I think that's all, folks. We love y'all.
We'll see you in the next video.
We're doing the podcast thing.
Oh, we are.
Yeah. How do we say bye? We say bye differently in YouTube videos.
I always say, see you in the next video.
Do you?
Yeah, I say on the podcast, and we'll be talking to you tomorrow.
Oh. Au revoir. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, we love y'all.
And we'll see you in the next video.
Do 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 do.